Okay. Can you guys hear? This working? Great, guys. So I want to thank Harrison for this embarrassing introduction. And I want to thank the FMA for the invitation. It's a great honor to be addressing as a keynote speaker here. And of course, SNU for the hosting this conference. This is my first trip to Korea, and I'm very, very happy to be here. So let me start to you with telling you a little bit about the plan of the lecture. The theme of the lecture is, it starts with the argument that shorting an asset is costly. And I'll expand on all those things, of course. And then I'll talk about the consequences of costly shorting. In particular, asset price bubbles in the presence of disagreement. And then I'll talk about the role of asset supply changes in deflating bubbles. And in particular, part of what asset shorting is increasing asset supply. I'll talk about costly shorting and limits to arbitrage. And then I'll concentrate on a paper I co-wrote with Harrison and 3 young authors, Lee, Ni, and Yen, which is to use a days to cover, which is something I'll, of course, explain to you, as a predictor of measure returns to shorting. And then I'll do a short conclusion. How long are we supposed to go for? Until what time? Until 12. 45 minutes. Great. So, traditional asset pricing treats shorting simply as purchasing a negative amount of the asset. That's how traditional asset pricing goes. So we have an asset today whose price today is P. Asset pays next period X, which may be random, so that's why we write X of omega, because it may depend on some state of nature. And the buyer pays P and receives X of omega tomorrow. The short party receives P today and commits or promises to pay X of omega instead of omega in next period. So it's a total symmetry in traditional asset pricing between going short and going long, just a question of sign. In reality, shorting has to be costly. Years ago, when I was in Chicago, I used to teach fixed income at the business school, even though my appointment was just in economics. And one of the things I would explain to people when I talk about shorting is that if you could do this, shorting a treasury bill would mean borrowing a U.S. treasury rate, so you could just put the money on a bank and make money out of that. So, not these days, because you can't make money on a bank right now, but in the past when you could make money on a U.S. bank. So they got something wrong with that. And of course, shorting an asset is a different operation. It's an over-the-counter operation. When an agent finds a lender of the asset, borrows the asset, the loan is collateralized with cash, and the lender pays the borrower a rebate rate of interest, which is below the market rate. So that's what it reflects. That's how the fee gets reflected, which is the difference between whatever the market rate for cash loans and what the borrower of the asset receives from the lender. Now, an earlier paper, and this is this paper by Davoli in 2002. Now, there isn't that much shorting. There's not much stock lending in the world. If you take the 500 U.S. regulated mutual funds, they lend less than 1% of their securities on average. So there's not that much lending going on. Index funds, in fact, and it makes sense it will make more sense once we think about the process of shorting a little bit better. Index funds and ETFs are twice as likely to lend securities than do the average mutual fund, but that's about just 2% instead of 1%. Pension funds, in fact, lend a larger fraction of their assets. Now, security loans are often on call. That means you lend the asset and you have the right to take it back next day. In fact, U.S. regulated funds, both mutual funds, closed-end funds, and ETFs, must lend on call. They cannot lend on term in the U.S.